Ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to lose weight. I've always felt and known that I was overweight. It was never something that I was necessarily ashamed of, but just something that I was aware of. I always wanted to be thinner my entire childhood and even up until recently. There were a few times where I tried to lose weight and tried to watch what I ate, but was never successful in actually burning fat in my body. And I gotta say that before you make a decision that you want to lose weight or fat in your body, there's only two things I think should come into consideration. One is your opinion of your body, and two is how much of a risk your weight or lack of it poses to your health. I want to make sure that everyone watching this knows clearly that I am not a health professional. I cannot say for certain that everything I did was 100% right or 100% healthy. But this is what I did. It worked for me. It was never too much for me. And there's only been positive outcomes from it. So just to say as well, before you watch this video, if you do have anything similar to an eating disorder, you might want to think twice about watching this video. Think about whether it's in your best interests to, and whether it would affect you negatively or positively. And if you think it's too much altogether, just click off the video. I want everyone to be safe and healthy, and at the end of the day, the shape of your body and the amount of fat you have on your body doesn't define who you are. So, this is how I did it. I started in January. I said to myself that this year is going to be the year I lose weight. But I didn't want to do it as a New Year's resolution because those pretty much always fail. So I waited a few days in, and then I was having dinner with my family. We had ordered a takeaway, and then I started thinking about how bad it was for me and how much junk food I had had over the previous days. So I made a decision then and there to start. My uncle recommended looking at the HSE guidelines for healthy eating. And although I didn't stick to each and every single thing that they recommended, I did find a lot of it really useful. Some of the things they recommended that I did take on board was drinking 2 liters of water per day. That was pretty easy to stick to. They also recommended weighing yourself once a week. This was the most important thing. Finding out what I actually weighed was really interesting to me because I had never wanted to weigh myself before, not for lack of trying, but because I just didn't have weighing scales before I bought one. It also allowed me to find out afterwards how far I was from reaching a healthy weight. And I did this by going to the BMI calculator online, which I'll link below. Finding out your body mass index isn't always the most accurate if you have a lot of muscle, but I think for determining how unhealthy you are overall is a good place to start. So that's where I did. I put in my weight, I put in my height, I put in my gender, and then it came up with a graph that showed me how far into the overweight zone I was. It told me that the healthy weight range was roughly from 55 kilograms to 75 kilograms for my height and my age. So that helped me set my first goal. My first goal was 75 kilograms, and when I got there I was beyond happy. That was about 7 weeks into my weight loss journey. And then after that, the second goal I set for myself was bang in the middle of the healthy weight range, which was 65. But then I said to myself, well, that's just 2 kilos away from 63, which will be exactly 3 kilos down from where I was originally, 83. So 63 became my goal weight. The HSE guidelines recommended exercising for 1 hour per day if you want to lose weight. I didn't exactly do that, but what I did do is I cycled roughly 3 times a week. Sometimes it was 4, sometimes it was 2. I decided along the way of this trial and error to do 10 laps of St. Catherine's Park. I usually did this in about an hour and a half. One day I did record my cycle. This is the results on your screen. This was a good day when there wasn't much wind. Some days were harder than others because of how strong the wind was, or how much it rained, or how mucky it was. It was especially mucky in January. I would always exercise in the morning. I wanted to get it done and out of the way with. Each time I cycled, I would put my earphones in and listen to these playlists that I have. And then when I got through all of the playlists, I just went back to the beginning. I found that music really motivated me and at times distracted me. So the hour and a half flew by. What I ate per day was actually pretty simple. So every other morning, I would have an omelette with 2 eggs and bits of corn ham thrown in there because I'm a vegetarian and I don't eat meat. And then on the mornings that I didn't have an omelette, I would have 2 slices of McCambridge brown bread with butter. Lunch really varied each day. Sometimes I would have an apple and a few pistachio nuts. Other days I would have a few grapes and a few blueberries. And then for dinner, I would always have the same thing. I would have half a plate of vegetables, and then a quarter of my plate would be protein. I would always have a corn burger, and then the other quarter left on my plate would be pasta. If I ever was to have a snack between meals, it would always be 3 or 4 dried apricots. I found them to be a really good snack and really filling. Something I had actually tried out before I went on this diet that I continued throughout the 4 months was intermittent fasting. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically when you eat for only a certain amount of hours in the day, then fast for the other hours. So at the start, I would have dinner at 5, so I'd stop eating at 5:30. Then I wouldn't have breakfast until 10 a.m. the next day, and I wouldn't have any treats or snacks in between that time. I think this worked out really well for me. It was hard for the first few days, but I think it was a big factor in burning a lot of the fat that I lost. I realized that a lot of times when I thought I was hungry, I was actually just bored. So what I did to combat that was I just started drinking a lot more water. And this was great because the HSE recommended that you do drink 2 liters of water per day. I definitely got there, and I think I went beyond that because of how bored I was sometimes. I really didn't drink anything else besides water. I drank milk about once a week. I definitely didn't drink any fizzy drinks or colored drinks. While dieting and exercising, I realized that there were a lot of misconceptions I had. What really surprised me the most is how what I ate was actually really enjoyable and how it was pretty basic. From stories I had heard online about people going on diets, it seemed that you needed to make these really elaborate dishes and eat things you didn't really like every day, but that never happened with me. Whenever I came back on my cycle, I'd actually be really excited to eat my omelette or brown bread. I found them really tasty, as well as my corn burger, and I came to really enjoy fruit and nuts. The only thing that I wasn't mad on is the vegetables, and even those were fine, really. The second thing that blew my mind was actually finding out that you could exercise in a way that was enjoyable. 2 years ago, I tried running a lot in the summer. I thought that this would help me lose weight, and I'm actually not sure to this day whether it did or not because I didn't track my progress and I didn't weigh myself each week. I never totally enjoyed running. It was always a struggle. Whenever I did run, I would focus on it being over. But cycling turned out to be a lot different for me because it was something that I actually had fun doing. And on the plus side, because I was doing it for longer, I ended up apparently burning more calories than I would have if I ran every day, I think. But I'm not a health expert, so I don't know. A lot of this process was trial and error. I remember at the start, I tried lifting weights and skipping before I went on cycles each day. This just took up more time and I didn't kind of like it as much as I did cycling. What is kind of obvious looking back that I didn't think about before I went on the diet was that portion control is such a big part of losing weight. I didn't think of my portions before. I didn't think about how much I was actually eating in a particular meal. While on my diet, there were occasions where I did need to turn down food from my friends or family, or if there was some occasion where there was sweets or cakes or something. It can be sometimes hard, but believe me, it pays off in the long run. Having said that, each Friday after I weighed myself at 2 o'clock, my family would always get a takeaway. It wasn't really much of a takeaway, it was like pasta from a local restaurant. But it was the only treat I had per week, and it was a really nice experience. Always sitting down with my family and having that treat with them. It felt really special to me, and it was definitely the highlight of my week, I think, because I was always so positive after checking how much weight I lost that week. Something that's really important to note as well is that when you do weigh yourself, you do it at the exact same time each week, because your weight will fluctuate throughout the week. I don't know why it does it, but it does. And I know from experience that it can discourage you if you do weigh yourself, say, 3 days later and your weight has gone up. There might be a million different reasons for that, which I know none of. But look it up if you really want to find out. The reason weighing myself weekly became so crucial to this process was that it showed me how well I was doing, and if in a particular week I wasn't doing well, I knew that I had to adapt in some way the following week to continue getting closer to my goal weight. So this is just a chart that I made up on this website called infogram.com. So you can see at the top here that it starts at 83, which is what I was in kilos on January 8th. At the start of my weight loss journey, I would generally drop 2 kg a week. This was normal for me, but it might not be normal for other people. So the first 2 weeks, the pattern continued. I dropped 4 kilos in 2 weeks, and then I plateaued here. So that's when I was eating the exact amount of portions of each food group that the HSE recommends. So it didn't work very well for me. So then the pattern continued for another 2 weeks. By February 12th, I had reached my first goal of 75 kilos. So then that week I plateaued as well. I didn't lose any weight, but that was because I actually let myself off and I started to snack on a few of the things I really liked. So then the following week I dropped 3 kg, which is the most I had and still have ever lost in a week. This was abnormal for me, considering I actually exercised less than I normally do. I only cycled once that week, but still it was very weird, and it actually gets more weird as it goes on. So then I plateaued again that week for my final time, and that was because I think it was coming up to my birthday, and friends of mine and my family were buying me things, so I wasn't too strict on my diet. But from then on, pretty much my metabolism started to slow down. So around about this time, I started increasing my fasting period as well. Instead of fasting from 5:30 to 10 o'clock, I started eating my dinner at 4 o'clock. So I was fasting pretty much from 4:30 to 11, I decided. And then at 11, I broke my fast and had my breakfast. So then that trend of losing about 1 kilo or 1.5 kilos continued until this week, when I only went down half. And that was kind of scary for me because I was doing exactly what I was doing before and sticking to my diet really well. So then I decided that the only thing I'd be able to change about this lifestyle I was on, trying to lose weight, was the exercise aspect. So then what I did to compensate is start cycling 5 times a week instead of 3. And that worked pretty well. How much was I down? I was down 1.5 kilos, so that really helped. And then the week after that, I was just down 1. And I had said to myself that I wanted to finish at the end of April, because that would be 4 months since I had started, and if I didn't do it in 4 months, then I was just gonna go crazy doing it. I had to adapt if I wanted to meet the April 30th mark. So again, I wasn't willing to cut down on my food intake. So what I did do is I cycled every single day for an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it ended up being. What I did as well is I didn't eat until 12 the next day. So that was the most extreme my intermittent fasting ever got. I was fasting from 4:30 until 12 the next day. So then April 30th rolled around and I was really excited to see how much I had lost in that week, because I genuinely didn't know if what I had done would have worked. And then I got on my weighing scales and I was hoping for 63 and I ended up getting 62. So what I did in final week definitely worked, and it was the first time since February 26th that I lost more than 1.5 kilos. I lost 2.5 kilos that week, and it was really cool to finish with a bang like that. Although each week was really manageable for me and I wasn't thinking about my weight goal much, the last 2 weeks were the toughest because I was just anticipating the day that I finish and looking forward to all the nice sugary fatty things that I could have again. So I was really counting down the days in the last 2 weeks. But it's not to say that they were painful or anything. I was just pretty anxious, and actually cycling helped calm those nerves a lot of the time. So, what are the results? Well, for starters, I feel a lot lighter pretty much in everything I do. A weird side effect that I didn't know that I would feel is that I'm colder. I'm putting on the heat in the house more often and I'm wearing heavier jumpers at night, because when you think about it, it's a lot of insulation that I lost. So of course I would feel colder, but it's just something I've never had to think about before. In terms of my appearance, I've changed just a bit. I now have a jawline and some more dimples. That's pretty cool. Never had those before. My waistline has also shrunk. I used to put my belt buckle in the second hole in my belt, and now I have to put it in the sixth. But really, still the same old me, just with a little less weight and a lot more confidence. Confidence in doing things and confidence just overall, because I've never looked better and I've never felt healthier. Another thing that I didn't realize would happen until I arrived at my weight goal was that all of my clothes would get really baggy on me and not fit me anymore. Some tops and jeans look like they could fit two of me in them, with the exception of this shirt. This shirt was too small for me. I couldn't fit into this shirt properly in January, and now it's almost too big for me. Almost. The day that I realized I could fit into this shirt was a real milestone for me, because it showed how far I'd come. Before, I was just relying on weighing scales to tell me exactly how much I lost, but when I put the shirt on, I could actually see and feel how much weight I lost. As a result of going on this diet, I'm no longer really attracted to fatty or sugary foods like I was before, when I would just snack on anything I could find in the cupboards. I actually really like fruit and nuts now, and I'm trying out things like granola. I find them a lot more filling than the sugary treats that I was having before. And when I eat them, there's the bonus of knowing that what I'm eating is healthy for me. That's not to say treats are a bad thing. Everything is good in moderation. So just no more treats every single night. I've learned to really appreciate food that I find really tasty. Whenever I'm eating pasta, which I really enjoy eating, or take pancakes or French toast, I don't watch TV while I'm eating them, and I just eat them more slowly. I find it a lot more enjoyable, and I find that it doesn't feel like I just ate the food in 2 seconds. I actually feel fuller as well. The final outcome of this diet and new lifestyle that I tried out was that I'm now open to a lot more foods and trying new things because I was restricted to what I could eat. There's so much food on menus that I've never tried. Eating is now definitely more like an experience for me and not something to just munch on when you're bored. So, reflection time. The following are my opinions on things and not actual facts, just like the majority of things in this video. Just a few things I've learned from undergoing this process. I think there is too much stigma around talking about weight and talking about diets. I don't think weight should be something to be ashamed or embarrassed about talking about. I don't know if I said that correctly, but you know what I mean. Before January, I was almost afraid to bring up that I thought I was overweight or that I knew I was overweight. And that was probably because I knew that people around me would kind of feel awkward about it or feel that they had to tell me that I didn't look that overweight or they didn't think I needed to lose weight. I guess a part of me wanted to make this video as well to try and normalize talking about weight because nothing good, nothing positive is going to come out of being afraid to talk about someone's weight with them openly and honestly if they want you to talk about their weight with them. I also don't think people should be embarrassed to be overweight. Not a lot of people want to be overweight. It's often not their fault. So that brings up a good question. Whose fault is it that so many people around the world and in Ireland specifically are overweight? A lot of people will blame themselves, friends, parents, but I don't think it's any of those. I think it's society. You go into any shop, look on any shelf, and there will most likely be something unhealthy for you marketed as if it's really not that bad for you, or if it is healthy. There's an overwhelming amount of junk food sold in shops as well. And I don't know about you, but if I ever go into a shop with my friend or stop at a garage with my dad, I'm most likely to pick up something like a bar, a chocolate, or other types of junk food. So, yeah, I don't think there is anyone to blame. And if you do want someone to blame, blame capitalism and brands profiting off you wanting to eat sweet things. The two things preventing me from losing weight before was education and opportunity. I didn't know how to lose weight. I didn't know the specific food groups. I didn't know what I should be eating, how much I should be exercising. I didn't know where to start. And up until this time last year, I was still in secondary school. School is full time, and I know from experience I didn't have a lot of free time on my hands. I couldn't have done this if I was still in school. The only reason I was able to do this is because I started straight after the third wave when everything was closed, when I couldn't go to college physically, and I actually had a lot of free time to take up this new project. Not everyone has the opportunity that I had to lose weight. It's important to me that you understand as well that I did this for me. I didn't do this for anyone else. There's no one who told me to do this, and there's certainly no one who could have influenced my opinion of my body that would have made me want to lose weight. As I said in the beginning, I don't know for certain whether I did this 100% healthily, but there was never a moment in this process that I felt that my health was being affected negatively. And believe me, if there was ever a point that I did, I would have stopped immediately. You have to do it in a healthy way. There's no other way to go about it. You could also do this gradually if you wanted to. It's all about finding out what works best for you. What's probably most important is at the start and at the end, you have to accept yourself and your body for what it is. There's no point in going into this process with a negative mindset. Your body is your body, whether it's the way you want it to be or not. It's yours, and you only have one of them. There's sometimes when I look in the mirror at my body now and I'm really happy with what I see. But then there are times when I'm not. My point is that even after losing 3 stone, I'm still not thrilled with how I look. I'm really happy, but I think sometimes if you don't set a limit where you say, okay, enough is enough, then you're just going to be chasing this imaginary shape of your body that you may never even get to. Ultimately, I'm a healthy weight. I'm where I want to be. I do think that anyone can lose weight if they put their mind to it. It sounds cheesy, but if you put your mind to something and you're consistent, determined, and persistent with it, I really do think it'll work out for you and you will be able to achieve your goal. What I've come to realize is that if I had never been overweight, then I would never have been given this opportunity to bring about meaningful change in my life. I would have never been able to achieve this milestone, be really proud of myself, and that is what I am. I am very proud of myself. If there has ever been a time in my life to boast about something that I've done, it's now. And I'm going to do it unapologetically, because although this wasn't the hardest thing in the world, it definitely wasn't the easiest, and it's something that I always wanted to do, and it's something that I got to achieve because I worked hard at it. What has never worked for me is saying that I'll start this new lifestyle on Monday, or saying I'll start after I eat all the snacks in my house. The only way that has ever worked for me is when I decided to do something in the moment. I definitely didn't have to be thinking about it beforehand. I just said, enough is enough, and now, this particular moment in time is the time to start, and I am not looking back. So if you want to lose weight, what I'd recommend to you, and this is my opinion and not fact, is to start in the moment. But you have to do it in a healthy way. That's maybe gradual and right for you. You have to be informed, and you have to try different things and decide what works for you. And if you believe everything I said, and if you're willing to give it a shot, then congratulations. You just started.
I want to lose weight. I am going to lose weight.